Okay, we're going to start cutting the boards for our walls, and the cut links are on the plans. We have this saw we're going to use. You can still use the skill saw like you did before, but our plans give the different lengths of all the different boards for each of the walls, and we're just going to cut out all of them, and then we'll start framing. So, this first one is 5 foot 2 inches. Which is the length of the back. It's the back wall, top and bottom plate. So we go 5 foot 2. Mark on our board, line up the saw blade, and we'll cut. And there's our first board for our first plate. We're going to take this pile of wood here and cut out the rest of it. All the wall studs on this generator shed are 3 foot 1 inches long, and we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them. So we're just gonna cut 11 boards at 3 foot 1 inches. Going, and okay, we're going to lay out the rear wall of the shed. And the first thing you do when laying out a wall is to stand the top and bottom plates on end and flush up the two ends. Make sure they're equal lengths and that they're right next at the same on the plane next to each other. This wall is laid out at 2 feet on center, and so we're going to hook our tape measure on the end there, and we're going to come down to 2 feet. We're going to hold it back 3/4 of an inch and put a mark. And then we're going to go to 4 feet, because 2, 4, 6, 8, and we're going to hold it back 3/4 of an inch and put a mark. And after you put the marks, you can put an X on the side of the mark, on the side that actually hits 4 feet and 2 feet. And the reason for that is to show the side of the mark that the stud goes on. These marks are going to be the edge of the studs. Then you take your square and you put it on the boards, and you can finish the line and make it go from edge to edge. And after you've done that, I can show you why the studs are 2 feet on center. When we lay our boards on here, boards come, you have your mark here, the edge of the board, and then the X to show the side that the board goes on, and it sits like that. And the reason is so that when that 4 feet piece of OSB or siding comes down, the 4 foot joint is right down the middle of that board, and it can run on. This wall can be as long as you need it to be. So then you take one of the plates and move it to the other end of the wall, and line it up on the opposite side of those studs. And you're ready to nail this together. Okay, now that we've laid out our walls and set our studs in place, final thing you might want to check if you have really crooked wood, and especially with taller walls. This one might not be so bad, but is you need to crown the boards, and you look down the board, and every board will have a crown, which means a bow to it. And it doesn't matter whether all the bows are up or all the bows are down when you set the studs down, but you want them to all be the same. And so it's a good idea to crown your lumber before you nail the wall together. Otherwise the wall kind of goes in and out, and it's like I said, with wood this short, it's not that critical, but some full heights sheds will have more of it. It's very noticeable when the walls get wavy. Okay, if you don't have a nail gun, you need to use the old hammer and a nail. and you line up the stud with on the side of the layout mark that we made previously. Make sure the tops are flush, so meaning this surface is the same level as that surface, which isn't a problem with most lumber unless your lumber is really crooked. Set the nail about 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch in. Put your weight on this foot, and then drive that nail. Make sure that it's straight up and down so that you don't have your bore's not crooked when you stand up the wall. Set your second nail. Okay, and then you go through and do all the studs in the same way. Okay, nailing on the inboard is just slightly different than nailing on the intermediate plates to the studs. You want to make sure that these are flush as they can get, and once again make sure that the tops of these two boards is the same. A good way to do that is step on both of them at the same time. Make them flush. You'll take your nail and bring it back a little bit, almost to the edge of, well, about to the edge where this the wall stud is, and you put it in a slight angle into the wall stud. And the reason for that is so that the board doesn't split out here. Another trick you can do, an old framer's trick, is to take the end of the nail and blunt it. And that keeps the board from splitting on the end. Remember, put your pressure here again so that you keep it from. Okay, after we've nailed off the first side, top plate down to the wall studs, we're going to come to the other end and nail off this end. Okay, after the first wall is framed, stand it up, and we're going to move it out of the way, and we're going to start framing the other walls. And you bring your plates back that you set aside before and bring them up to where you're going to frame the wall. You mark these ends, which you've done, and then you lay out the wall. This wall has a kind of a funny layout. Normally it would be 16 inches on center, so you hold it back 3/4 of an inch. This wall, because of the shortness of it, the studs are off layout, so you put your mark, do that, speed square, mark it too, and then you frame these side walls just like you did the rear wall. Okay, in sanding these walls, we're going to stand the longest one first, the one that actually goes from the end of the shed to the end of the shed, and it makes it easier to stand the other ones up because then you'll know exactly where they go. They'll butt right up into it. So just take the wall like that, stand it in place, and then flush up the end here. Double check it, even though you should have checked before. So you flush up here and you flush it up on the back side. And then you drive a nail, 2 nails. Two nails about every 16 inches, 12 to 16 inches. Across the floor. After the first wall is up and solid, you'll take the second wall and stand it up. And so it butts up against here. You want to make sure that this is flush and tight, and then you the same thing again and put nails every 12 to 16 inches, and definitely at each end, all the way down. Okay, how corners are tied together is that the inside stud, or the one that doesn't go all the way to the edge of the building, is actually nailed into the other stud, the other wall through here. So we're going to install nails through here, and they'll go through and into, and it'll lock the corner together, making it secure. And then once the siding is put on, it'll go over both of these surfaces, and you'll nail here and here, which ties it further together. So what you do is you start the nail about 3/4 of an inch from the edge, because you're just going into this 1.5 inches on the back side of it. Hold your hand here on the top, keep them flush, keep your fingers out of the joint, and nail it together. And that's it. And do that about every 12 inches down the length of the stud. Okay, this shed is the generator shed is a little bit different than most sheds, in that the door frame goes from wall to wall, and so we don't have a bottom plate. So if you look at the plans, the wall studs for this front wall are actually 1.5 inches longer than the normal wall studs for the rest of the walls on the shed. And you do the same thing. It fits right in here between the two outside walls. You flush up this corner here, and then you drive nails every 12 inches down. This one you should put more nails than not, because this stud here actually holds the door on either end, and so it takes a little bit more stress than the other studs that are in the shed.